Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to this evening's notice of a regular meeting hereby of the Board of Directors of the District to be held at 105 Fort Road, Portersville, Texas on the 10th day of January 2018 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the District on January 5th, 2018 at 1 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041, 551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. We do have the presence of a full quorum. All board members are present at this time. And may please have everyone stand for the invocation and the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carlos, would you lead us in an invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another new year, Lord, that you will put your hand over the water district and each board member and each employee, Lord, of the district, and protect us throughout the year, Lord, that you will give us more knowledge, more wisdom, continue doing our best stewardship for the district, and that you will help us also cut costs, be more better at our jobs, and that we can do more with less, Lord. That you will provide for us all that we need, and we thank you for your Son Jesus Christ. And in His name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Moving to item number 3, invitation to the audience for comments. Includes board and staff at this time. Anyone like to comment, share, discuss anything openly? Board, audience,
Happy New Year.
staff. Happy New Year as well. Hope for a prosperous, successful 2018 from everyone. Hello, welcome.
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your name for the record and
My name is Donald De Leon. I'm an insurance agent with the Clement Insurance Agency. I wanted to wish everybody here, board members, board presidents, a happy new year and a successful year coming. I just want to let you know my associate and I are the agents and local agents here in that currently the ones that are insuring your windstorm. And just wanted to introduce myself. If there are any questions, be free to answer.
thank you for your time.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Same, thank you. Anything? Moving on to item number 4, consider and approve the minutes of the workshop on the meeting of December 6, 2017.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Wells.
Second.
Second by D. Wells. All those in favor?
Aye.
There are.
That's the one where I got my
None
big
opposed?
shot.
Motion carries, thank you. Moving to item number 5, consider and approve the minutes of the regular meeting on December 13th, 2017.
So moved.
A motion made by R. Wells.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed, thank you. Motion carries. Moving to item number 6, General Manager's Report. Carlos?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I know that the board had approved the water tower lease at the previous meeting. I just wanted to bring back the information that they did, all the requests that we had at the last meeting. We got together and we updated everything that you all requested at the last meeting, which was like 3 or 4 items. They looked at the video and listened to our conversations, and we implemented everything in the agreement. So we wanted to let the board know and give you a copy of it. We'll be possibly.
Is it signed already?
No, tonight.
Okay, because I see a couple of things.
A couple of things, we can just bring it up and we can. If you want to talk to me after the board meeting, so we can get it.
No, let's get it in open record.
Okay.
I won't take long, may I?
Yeah, I don't know what we can do, because this is a discussion only. I don't know.
It's on here, isn't it?
If we need to.
It's his report.
We'll see.
We're okay discussing
Okay.
his bullet point.
Okay.
Thanks for
Why not?
that. On paragraph 1, Carlos, I want to look down at the bottom. And this is referencing I'll jump down to, the land space has always been identified 15 by 10. I'm gonna go to the last sentence in the first paragraph, in the paragraph 1, where it says tower space, land space, right-of-way, and further right-of-way, if any, are substantially described in Exhibit A, attached here too. I've always been concerned about tower space, and if we go to Exhibit A, that's just the meets and bounds description. It does not, that's the land description. If you go to, following that, if you go to Exhibit B, the second one, to look at Exhibit B, it comes closer to actually defining what tower space is. So contractually, Exhibit A does not define tower space. Exhibit B does. Bring that to their attention, please. I was looking, is there a firm commencement date? Alex, you said there was a 45-day.
Yeah, in the original,
Where is that?
in the original contract, I
But in
thought
this
there
one
was
not.
a 45-day commencement period.
We still do not have,
We do need to include a commencement date there.
I think it would be after signature, wouldn't it?
well, typically it would, but the issue has always been with this, that this contract has had we get a $1,000 check on signing, but the commencement date or time commences when they start doing installation. The concern I've always had is they could hold off on this 20 years.
I know that they, requested information so they can, start, testing the ground. Just testing the ground, that's what they started on already, so.
All I want to do with legal, my question will be, is there a firm commencement date? Even if they start testing the ground, if they start doing the preliminary work, when does this kick in? I don't want it to sit fallow for 20 years just because we haven't started, by contract they haven't started. As a result is they can sit back there for however long they want and shop it around to somebody else. So that, I'm lacking the firm commencement date. Those are my notes.
All right.
And, Carlos, the contract is between us and Verizon, meaning that, they can't transfer this to anybody. Okay. And that's the other thing we need to make sure we have in there. That they
Well,
can't.
it's in here, but
It
you
is?
know, you need to verify that. There's a,
And I mean, we can talk about that, but it has to be something that they have to bring back to the board if that's what happens in the future.
it was in page 8. We did get the protection at 18, item number 18 of 8, that they got a first right of refusal if the district wanted to sell a larger space or any part of their space. They had a right of refusal
Okay.
if we wanted to enter into agreement. So I think there's something in here. Okay, 24 at the top of 10, assignment. May not be sold, assigned, or transferred by leasee without the written consent of the leaseor. That's what we requested.
Okay, here's the commencement date. I think it's in page 3. It's in there on additional rent. From the date of full execution of this agreement, 45 days.
Page 3, which line, which paragraph?
Second paragraph,
Additional rent.
yeah.
So we take 45 days from date of full execution of this agreement by the parties.
Meaning once it's signed.
Well, no, that's just the additional rent. That's just $1,000. from the time we sign it, they have 45 days to do that.
3A governs the commencement date of that section 3C of this agreement does not impact whether or not lessee chooses to commence the term.
3A.
This agreement shall be effective as of the date of execution by both parties provided by here. However, the initial term of 5 years shall commence.
If you look down about the third down in a paragraph, that paragraph 3A, where right there below where you see the 30 in the left-hand column, then the next sentence down, this agreement shall commence upon the date lessee commences installation of equipment on the premises.
So that could be between now and the end of this contract.
2050.
It's pretty open.
That's what I was... Do you see the sentence I'm referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that troubles me.
Okay, I guess we'll send it back to Lucia. Again, I compliment Doyle for really making a strong effort on this. He really had the district's best interest.
Thank you.
Moving on. Does that conclude?
Okay.
Doyle?
Yes, sir.
The next one, I have here is the city of Portisville. And I got not all the information yet, because we're waiting on information from our auditors. So, I know that I received an agreement from the city, kind of like a contract agreement, but I need to send it to Mr. Lucio to look at it also. The other thing that I did make phone calls, I don't have any information on East Pier Hondo taking over the billing on the garbage for Los Fresnos. I did make contact with the city of Los Fresnos, and they said that they're sending their own bills to the customers. They send their water bill, their sewer bill, and then garbage to their city customers. And I asked our employees if they live in Los Fresnos and they get a bill from the city. I don't have anything that says East Pier Hondo is taking over.
The areas that Mr. Hummel served, actually Mark Milam sent me that agreement, which I changed it. They said they have some areas that Mr. Hondo serves.
Yeah, but that's only places that they're serving, not the whole city.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but the places that they're sending the bills to are the places that they belong to. East Pier Hondo has their CCM, and so they service the water and sewer and the garbage to those outskirts of Los Fresnos, but not the whole city. So I was concerned about that because I thought that the whole city would be taking over, the whole garbage and everything, but they weren't taking over the whole city. Just parts of it's like Omito also has their area where they're considered services, but they're like the Los Fresnos area, but not, the CCM belongs to Olmito, so they service water, sewer, and garbage from Olmito. So the outskirts of each side of Los Fresnos. So it's not that the city of Los Fresnos itself is sending the bills directly to their customers.
If I can interject, I think that was actually the scenario we described all along, is that you had in that case an entity that had multiple,
Right.
water service providers in their inside, and so they contracted with the water service provider that was serving that customer to deliver the garbage bill. In our case, of course, there's just one water service provider, which is y'all. So it's the same thing. It's just in that case, of course, Los Fresnos has their customers that they bill within the city, but in the areas part of the city that they're not sending a water bill to someone. And actually, if you talk to Mark, or if you talk to the people in East Rio Hondo, East Rio Hondo actually bills for sewer for Los Fresnos too, in some areas. because they have areas that the city of Los Fresnos has the sewer CCN, but East Rio Hondo has the water. And so they have arrangements where they're sending one single bill to the customer. And you indicated the same thing as Olmito. You went to Brownsville, you have a deal with El Jardín, it would be same similar thing. It's just that here, of course, there's one water provider for the whole city, and it's y'all. That's the only distinction. But I mean, as far as, I don't think that we ever said that East Rio Hondo was sending out the bill to people inside the city limits of, inside the actual city of Los Fresnos that were not their customers. These are people that are otherwise would be East Rio Hondo customers. They're water customers of East Rio Hondo.
And I understood that they were billing the whole city of Los Fresnos.
Go ahead, Rick.
It was just outside.
Well, my question would be, the town of South Padre Island don't even mess with this. Why does Fort Isabel? I mean, we just paid Republic Direct, it don't go to the city or the water district. I don't see why you guys even have to fool with it.
If Republic were to do the billing, they charge,
So it's all about money.
for the customers, yeah, because we don't charge them for the billing. So Republic charges a fee. Now, like the island, what they do is they send out one bill a year, so it's not that much. But, you know, when you have people that don't have as much money, they have to pay out that whole yearly payment in a year, so it's a lot easier for them to pay by the month. Of course, if you send the bills by the month, they're gonna charge you every month. RegularMeeting sends out 4 bills a year, so they split it into 4, but of course, Republic is charging them $2 or $3 every time they send out that bill. Now, that's one why we wouldn't use them. But the reason why we approached y'all is, number one, there'd be a single bill to the customer, so it's more convenient for them to come pay. And two, because I think it would help compliance. It would help compliance, it would help us know when people move in and out, it would help y'all know when people move in and out, to kind of keep track of when you have folks coming and going from these houses, opening and starting service. The situation we have here is that you have people that can move in and not realize they got to sign up for garbage service. They leave, they don't realize they have to cut off. They think, well, I cut off my water, they didn't realize they didn't cut off their garbage. You know, in most towns, when you go to stop and start utilities, it's all one stop. This is a unique situation in this area, and you talked about those agreements earlier. That's part of the reason why they have that, is because most people are used to paying one bill. They're not used to getting different bills from different providers or going different places to open and close service. So we're just trying to make it easier for the customer and make it a little better for compliance. That's really what's behind it. You know, as far as saving money, we're not going to save that much money. I mean, we're saving essentially the postage and the envelope that we spend, which is not that much, you know, per customer. But we do think it would be easier for the customers, and it would certainly be easier for us to know when people are leaving or when they're coming, and not to have to be chasing them because they'd be opening and closing their water, and that would trigger that garbage.
But I think we went through that the last time, in that we could easily provide you that information and not have to take over all that billing. And you could follow up with that, because ultimately, you're still going to be responsible for the billing. I mean, for whoever, you still have the liability no matter who does the billing.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to...
Right, you still have to be the city that backs it up. So I don't see how you're getting rid of any problems, and all you're losing is just the billing. That's all you're losing.
Well, what we're gaining is that the people, when they come pay one bill, I think they're more likely to come to pay their water bill, to come pay that one bill.
Right.
Whereas there's 2 bills, say, well, I'm going to pay my water bill, I want to pay my garbage.
Yeah. And my difficulty is that I have to shut off their water if they don't pay part of that bill.
Not under our agreement we proposed.
Yeah.
You got to remember, Alan, what Port Isabel and Laguna Vista are wanting to do is not unlike what everybody else is already doing.
No, and I understand that, but...
The compliance issue is probably the biggest, because a lot of people just say, well, you know, I'm not down here that often, I'll just take my trash to work or down to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And they think, well, but they don't think about the brush pickup, and, you know, the convenience factor to me is big. Convenience and compliance.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Like, my friends are living in the Heights, and they pay their BFI,
Yes.
you know, like a lot of other people. And I think you just incorporated the area they're in.
Yes.
How is that going to work for them now? They pay the bill, they take care of it.
They're going to be, there'll be letters going out pretty soon, and they're going to be converted to city garbage accounts. So basically, we've been in contact with BFI, Allied Waste, whatever the name, goes by different names, but that company, and they, depending on, they give people in that area, they have the option of paying by the month or by the quarter. And so depending on the billing cycle they're on, there'll be a period of time that they have to basically switch over, and so we're gonna send people out there door to door to go and help them do the paperwork to switch over when their payment with Allied will be linked so that they can get signed up with us.
So, at that point in time, if the district agrees to take this, we'll inherit that issue as well.
Well, you'd be billing them just like you would bill the ones in town, but of course, you're probably billing them anyway for water. So,
Correct.
they would just be additional.
They're considered rural Cameron County is what they're considered.
Right.
Their jurisdiction is rural Cameron County.
Well, now they're part of that Laguna Heights was an
Middle
expat
part
city.
is.
There's part of it in the ETJ, it's going to be said, I don't know what they're planning, but we annex the parts within our ETJ. Those people are they're now residents of the city, so we're transitioning them from the service they had under Cameron County to the service of the city. It's the same provider, it's actually a little bit cheaper, I think. I don't know the exact price, a little bit less, slightly. So they're just changing, just depending on doing that.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, Mr. Galvan, Mr. Gomez. Mr. Gomez, with both of the hats that you wear currently, my concern, my interest when you do come up with a report for us is how is this going to be handled with the accounts? We're going to be commingling funds here, and so this has some concern to me to understand how this can be handled to where it's a no hassle and free. You don't have to answer now, but please, whenever you bring it, not only with the cost projections to us, I can understand the not much cost to the district as far as including the set rate monthly fee for the city for garbage collection upon our bill and send it out, but I need to know the peripheral expenses for keeping up with all that counting and everything, but I would like to know how this is going to be handled with the commingled funds and how we keep it simple and clean. And those are my comments. After the whole well, we move on.
Yeah, and same thing with the grain of salt, when the Garcia was here, I did talk to her about that, and she did say it would create a whole new position for the district, just to be able to handle those.
Well, that's an opinion. I would like to have facts. No disrespect.
Correct.
That's an opinion. I'm asking for more for assumptions or opinions this time. I need to get down to brass tacks.
And
I
coming
have
to this.
another concern, Mr. Will. We're talking about a single bill, but we're only talking about water and garbage. Where's the electricity fit in, and is the water district going to be asked to take over the billing for the electricity as well?
No.
The city has no responsibility for electricity.
There is a concern about what kind of money we're going to be spending for staffing and to follow up and whatnot with all that. And I think we do need to have some hard numbers. I think it wouldn't hurt. Have you talked to Republic about this?
Yeah, we have.
Okay. And they actually said it's going to cost more than what you're charging.
Quote, I mean, I had them give me a price, what do you charge, just and that, it's like $2.50 to $3 a bill, which is a very high cost.
Okay.
It's way more than what we spend for that bill.
So once we, in saying all this, once we get all the information from our auditors and our report, we'll bring it back at the next meeting. They wanted to bring an update on it.
Okay.
We're still working on it. And,
Okay.
waiting on the auditors to bring us something back.
Let me ask you another question. How long is your contract with Republic? What is the city's contract duration?
It's got about 3.5 years left.
What is the duration of their contract?
Yeah.
So, regardless of what, I guess, between now and then, you're asking between now and the 3.5 years, and then when that contract's up for renewal, you would renegotiate at that time, or incorporate, or is this a bridge to get to the 3.5-year gap, or is this?
No, I don't think that we're contemplating having density built. What would happen when that contract came up is there would be a decision by the city commission to did they want to bid that out or redo it, or, you know, that would be a choice that they make at the time, whether they go out for bid, see what other prices of providers are there, and then redo it with the public, or, you know, that would be a choice that they make at the time. But, I mean, we separate the actual contract to provide the service from the, you know, from the collecting of the fees from the customers.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you for your time. Let's move on. Charles, are we done? Okay. Item number 7, Charles, District Engineers Report.
Yeah, the first item is just an update on the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Inspection at Isabel Wastewater Treatment Plant. And so they did come out and perform an inspection on the site on December 18th. And basically, you know, we activated the monofil and these methane monitors was still a pending item. So with that inspection, now it's basically become a violation since they're not in place today. And so basically what we did is we gave them our action plan to basically get the methane monitors installed. And I included that response to them here in the email. And then, it's kind of working with pricing to get the thing, at a better cost. And I guess that was just more the intent of this was to bring, the agency to get the methane monitors in place to your attention. And,
Can you tell me why these bullets are struck off?
Well, that's kind of the option if we do a change order versus putting them out for bid. That's kind of where those. I mean, this was written if it would be going out for bid, and then basically, I talked to Corollo to basically put together a bid package, and they were saying with the way it's set up, basically it's already set up in pieces where a lot of the plant set that you would need is within our existing set. And so there would be a more involved effort, whether it's in-house or somebody else doing it, to do an actual bidding process versus a change order. So that's basically where it stands right now as far as getting it awarded.
But we're not doing the bidding process ourselves, though.
Well, I mean, right now, in this board package, it's proposed as a change order. I mean, but it's the board's decision.
We're getting into that to another agenda item coming
Right.
up. I'd like to spend the time there on that. I just asked why these are struck off now and that's just anticipation again?
It's just being consistent on the way the package is being presented. But, it can always come back if needed.
No, the package presented as consideration by the board.
Right.
So I don't see striking off.
Well, it's just a discussion item, that's why it's there, but
That's a presumption
right.
on your part for striking it off now.
Well,
Presumption of what I'm going to decide on this agenda item coming
Right.
up.
Well, as it is, the dates already have changed, so I mean, that would.
No, thank you.
On the December 28th bullet point, about the 4th, 5th sentence down, the cost-saving measures,
Right.
are those things we're gonna have to, at some point, bring back, or?
Well, that's the way I negotiated the price from $233,000 down to the request that's an actual
Right,
item.
but my question is, are we gonna have to bring these items back? We're taking them off now to bring the cost down.
Oh,
right?
no, these are items that don't need to come back.
We don't need
It's
it,
just value engineering, just taking unnecessary portions.
So we're not gonna need them down the road?
No, correct. We're not
Okay,
gonna need them for this.
okay.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, I guess the second part of the engineer's report is just an update from Texas Water Development Board, because we had a conference call to talk about how we're going to be getting the funding set up for sludge holding things. And really, it's going to be treated like a new project. It's not really an addition to our existing loan. And the way that the actual project information forms will get submitted is we basically submit one for wastewater and one for water. So, and we would be submitting that through a 2018 year. So it's kind of submitted whenever you're ready. But that's basically as far as that discussion got with the Water Development Board. So it's basically a new funding application, funding request for the additional project components there at the sewer plant.
So that information that you just gave us not in our packet, that's just your oral report?
Well, for the second bullet on the engineer's report, it doesn't have any backup. It's just a report from the conference call we had. Yeah, that wraps up the engineer's report.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Moving to item number 8, Director of Operations report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, what I'm bringing here is just the service, the calls that are made on a monthly basis for November and December. The first part is the distribution department. In November, we had 355 service call-outs. In December, there were 228. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. I did make some notes on a couple of them on the informational. There were 21 calls, and most of them were for customer complaints about the meters or high water bills, contractors' work, something that where they left a tape out there that needed to go take care of, or angle valves that were being shut off, or that were shut off. And on the collection department, they had 67 calls for November and 16 for December. The note on this is on the maintenance service orders, and that is referring primarily to flushing out main lines, which is preventive maintenance. If you have any questions on either one of these, I'll be glad to.
Is that my call on the one call for district leak in December? Oh, thank you. Just saw it.
On the water or the turn-on service, is that new customers or returning customers? Do we know?
There is where occupant changes. Those are the turn-on services and new customers.
Okay.
Most of them are new customers, and of course, the occupant changes when they move from one place to the other.
Are those, question, is that information conveyed to the city or the appropriate community?
No, this is primarily for just costs that we take care of. There is one other one I'm sorry I missed on the water loss, and that is mostly in testing meters and cleaning fire hydrants. When the district uses the jetter and the background truck, where we have to fill them up with water. And on some occasions, such as the city requesting water, like for the shrimp cook-off. But that's basically when we call the city, it's on the fire hydrants or the shrimp cook-off or issues like that.
What does sharing the information, like you're asking, what does that do between entities?
What came to my mind was, particularly if it was in Port Isabel, they're saying they don't know when somebody necessarily occupying a residence. And I think it was Alex said,
you could easily
we
send them
share
that
that information with them. So does that facilitate Port Isabel or Laguna Vista without running into a lot of encumbered time on our part?
I mean, somebody could just place a call and say, hey, we got these new customers, these are the addresses or whatever, and they could follow up at will.
That was only my thought,
Right.
and I think I'd leave it at that for the general manager to discuss it with the director of operations and see if that's something that's effectively done without any real burden to the district. Just a neighborly thing to be doing.
Because there's, how do I have to delicately word this, there are secondary residences on some of these old lots, I guess, that, meaning they're guest quarters or mother-in-law apartments or whatever you want to, however you want to clarify that. And I don't, some of that opens up a can of worms, because some of those, yes, they're using the water, but as far as the trash and electric and some of the other services that are being provided to those what are designed as single-family homes are now multi-family homes by additions.
That would be their problem at that point.
Yes.
I'm only saying if there's a change of residence or a new residence connected for service, you would think that their CO would cover that, their certificate of occupancy. They'd be notified, but I'll just leave it at that as just a thought.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Those are the reports on the distribution department and the collection. I did bring out another, department, the construction department, just as a FYI, which was, the construction department was originally formed to assist the water and wastewater departments with their maintenance, although they basically do work wherever they're needed. The following a few of the jobs that they have completed or are in progress. They have repaired the eaves of the buildings that were not covered by the insurance. I bought those pictures to you all a couple of months ago. You can see where they fixed them. They also fixed the opening covers at the water pump stations, at the river pump stations. The ones that were covered with plywood and had that skylight, you can see those pictures on that where they fabricated the covers for those out of aluminum. They did a pretty good job.
Is that aluminum or steel?
I'm sorry?
That is aluminum?
I understand it's, well, it may be steel, I'm sorry, I may have that, the steel. Yeah, I'm sorry, they did a pretty good job of that, and they do have them bolted down.
Yes.
Good job on the construction department. And so you said that they were created to handle water and wastewater.
Yes, sir.
But Mr. Galvan, would it be something that the district should consider for the district as needed?
They pretty much are, too.
Right, but I'm sorry, it's expanding their job description. You know, if they need to come handle the barn area or anything like that, I don't know how it's broken up, but
It's just district-wide, anything and everything.
well, they did a good job, and the only other thing my notes is I see a lot of corrosion. Are y'all familiar with corrosion seal?
Yes, we are.
Buy it by the 55-gallon drum, please.
And that's,
We do.
Mr. Wells, that's something that we constantly talk about, especially when with the construction department that's doing repairs, and we do mention it to the managers to try and get some of that maintenance done by doing some painting, which will help the construction department as well, because they don't have to go and repair it every year or every other year.
Well, the product corrosion seal is just terrific. It takes FeO2 and changes it to FeO3, and it just really is a great primer. And then when you color coat over it, you know, it's just tremendous. It's really good. So, well, corrosion seal is the primer, but it's something that can be applied over rust, not scaly rust, but can be applied to what I'm seeing the pipe here. Just brush it off and then put that on there and let it sit for 24 hours and then paint it. I see a lot of, I mentioned it because and these pictures are great, but I see a lot of corrosion.
Deferred maintenance.
And that's why
And
we usually use it on the water tanks and all that. I believe they're purchasing now one that's compatible with potable water.
it's water-based. You can rinse it off with corrosion
but
seal.
drinking water, you can't really mix
Oh,
one
okay.
with one. There's another flow seal that works the same, and it's compatible, you know, for potable water. You can use it on potable water.
Rick and I are the ones, and Herb also, when we were the city, we were the ones that said, you know, put paintbrushes in the fire department's hands. Okay, while they're sitting there not doing anything, go out and paint in the city maintenance. So the same thing with all the other departments. We got to keep after that, please.
Hey, going back to your service calls, if we had adopted and installed the radio transmitting systems that we're considering, what effect would it have as far as limiting these numbers or reducing these numbers? Where would the savings be apparent?
A lot of it right now has to do with the meters. We have a lot of complaints with the meters that are going out now, and some of it has to do with customer complaints. They could monitor their own meters, and
But I'm asking you to just give me a rough quantification of either November or December.
I'm not
How
really
many
clear what
service
you're
calls,
asking.
huh?
I'm not really clear what you're asking either.
we're considering what's the company?
AMI system with-
The AMI system.
The water meter.
Yeah, the new meters with the radio transmission and the ability
Who
to,
else got an answer?
yeah.
I think, it wouldn't really change too much on a service call, because like, on an occupant change, we still have to go out there and close the meter. If there's a concern about a possible leak, private leak or not, we would still have to go out there and verify as a courtesy to the customer. But as far as going out there on a service call or the customer calls, no, it's not gonna change. The only thing that's gonna change is the customer's gonna find out 30 days before something's going on.
Yeah.
So the service call's gonna be sooner than later.
The water loss, we would affect that. Instead of having 46 calls, we might have less than that.
Well,
Because customers can monitor it on a daily,
profiles,
weekly.
profiles, for one, we could probably tell, a lot sooner when the transmitter's going out than waiting for the customer to call us and tell us that they have a high water bill. We have to go and get their profile, we find out the transmitter's not working, then we have to go and get the meter read. And we have to, on occasion, test the meters, and if it is faulty, then we change it out. But a faulty meter, 99% of the time, is on the customer's benefit. Because what happens is that the meter itself is not reading the water that's going through it.
Slows down, it doesn't.
It slows down, exactly.
Herb, are you asking like what kind of monies we're losing or gaining, or is that what your question is?
They had talked, when we had talked earlier, they said there would be savings in personnel, but also savings in catching water loss issues.
Right, right.
I really didn't think personnel issues would be a big cost savings. And-
Well, it is when you have to drive out there and read
But Joel's saying they still gotta do the driving. They just-
Depending on the service call, yes, but like for the profile, we wouldn't have to go out there. Right now, we have to physically drive out there
Right.
and get the handheld, the transmitter. With the new system that we talked about, it'd be uploaded remotely. We wouldn't have to drive out there.
There has been talk about changing the cost of some of the services that are performed, that when we go out there, bringing those up to date. But some of those are outdated for those costs of when you go out or check on something or change something. Some of those have been discussed, but not implemented.
Now, I did talk to Karen from Ferguson, and they're willing to come down and do a little survey, if you will, and just a random spot and give us some of that information to see what actually they find on some of those transmitters, the faulty transmitters, and what they're willing to do that.
Well, I think what Mr. Hughes, not speaking for Mr. Hughes, but what I understand is it's you know, this is top of our report, its call-outs were as follows, and then the type of services were, and so you're breaking it down, but, you know, there's a number of these things that, depending on the system that we ultimately buy, if we had that remote connect and disconnect, and so a lot of these are for disconnect the customer, reinstate customer, a number of those things. So with the new system, my understanding is a tremendous amount of what we're having to do in the field can be done remotely.
Well, we have the profiles in November, we have 30 meters tested, we have 39. Faulty transmitters, we have 46. We can find that out faster through the AMI system than having to wait for the customer to call.
Just to add to that, we just read cycle 3 on the 30th and cycle 1 on the 10th, which is Laguna Vista and Laguna Heights. Cycle 3, we had over 250 meters that came back unread, which meant the transmitter didn't go out. That had to manually go verify those readings. Okay.
And that's 4 men.
2 men.
You got a 4-door pickup, I always see 4 guys.
No, then you can get on me for having 4 guys checking meters.
But that doesn't report on a call-out, does it?
No.
That's
No, but-
normal routine to go back, it's not in here.
But Mr. Tito was asking about the savings.
Yeah.
On that, with the new system, it would give you a signal when the battery's going out. Because most of these issues are the battery's going out, going dead. Okay? So with the new system, it will let you give you an alert, that is going down, you need to address this. So we go out there, do what we need to do, and it'd be good to go.
That's some of the crunch numbers we're gonna look at soon, I hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, consider, and thank you, Mr. Gomez, some nice updates and some nice additions. Item number 9, consider and remove from the table the following item tabled at the regular meeting on December 13th, 2017. Consider and approve the purchase of 3 2018 model year half-ton 4x2 wheel drive extended cab truck long bed. Motion to take off the table.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Houston,
I'll
seconded by
second
D.
it.
Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 10, consider and approve the purchase of 3 2018 model year half-ton 4x2 wheel drive extended cab truck long bed. Yes.
Well, the memo attaches for following the recommendation on the last meeting. We did a bid opening yesterday, and I will have the information ready for the next meeting for the 2 bid openings, right? For the one on December 13 and for this new one.
So I guess we need to table this item, is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Just, do away with it. We'll bring a new agenda for
Moving on to item number 11, consider and approve the purchase of windstorm hurricane.
Just no action.
No
on
action. Consider and approve, item number 11, consider and approve the purchase of windstorm hurricane and hail insurance coverage.
For this one, you can see on the tabulation, claimant agency was not the lowest bid, but we are recommending this because was the only insurance company who include the demolition cost. So the difference is around $6,000, but the lowest bid, they didn't include the demolition cost.
I did notice they will do 25% though on the removal of the debris. And my question is, when you say you include the limit, included in the limit of demolition costs, does that mean we split it, we only get 10%? 10% and 10%? Is that how that works?
No.
No.
On the debris removal, it's all on a fixed cost. I mean, if your deductible or that cost is, that's all you're out as far as expense.
Because you say you're limited to 20% of the building, or maximum $1 million, right? But then, that's on the policy.
If we're gonna have an interchange with somebody in the audience, I'd like to have them at the podium
Okay.
to be on the record.
Okay.
Exchange.
That second to the last box.
Correct.
It says, does the policy include demolition costs? It says limit 20% of the building, or maximum $1 million. Does the proposal include debris removal included in the limit of demolition cost?
I believe so. I definitely have to check. That's almost always covered in those types of coverages. I don't have the whole proposal in front of me, but on the debris removal cost, that is in the coverage of the policy.
Right.
And then you're talking about the 20%, but
Yeah, and I guess what I'm asking is, if it's included in the demolition cost, so are we splitting that? In other words, what do you mean by it's included in the demolition cost?
well, there's a limit of that 20%. So whatever that cost would be, right? The 20% would be what I believe the total amount would be the limit.
So let's say we use up 20% of demolition cost. Is there any monies for debris removal then? That's really what I need to
See,
know.
that's where I'm seeing at the very bottom.
Yeah.
It says yes, so it would be on that policy.
Yes, but it says it's included in the previous one. So that's what I'm wondering, if I use up 20%, or $1 million maximum for demolition cost, is there gonna be any money left over for removal?
Oh, yes, yes, you'll have money left over.
Okay.
There's a total amount of that million.
He's asking if you had expended $1 million just on...
I expended
Oh,
$1 million.
you total, that
On
aggregate.
demolition.
Oh, you were out that aggregate on $1 million.
Yes.
And you were out that 25, not
Okay.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, no, I understand
Okay.
with the question. So we reached that $1 million aggregate, right? And you're asking if there's any more cost, any more left over.
Right,
Uh,
or removal,
Or for removal.
because it's included in the,
It's included,
They're gonna have to demo stuff and remove.
you know. You know, that you brought a good question up. If I had my actual proposal and I was looking at the insurance company, what they wrote, I want to say it is, but I have to double check just to make sure.
Right.
Because if you haven't reached the total aggregate, or you did reach the total aggregate, that's per occurrence.
right.
So,
Yeah, and I figured that'd be the worst case scenario for us.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm assuming the worst case scenario.
and I am too, but I'm here to answer the question, and he brought up a good question, and I do need to double check just to make sure, because...
Yeah, and the only reason I bring it up is because I have Arthur Gallagher is coming in for less money, and he doesn't have any demolition costs.
Correct.
But he will remove it for 25% or $5 million. Up to $5 million. So, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I can hire cheap labor to tear it down.
Our guys with their own dozers,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, and that's really why I asked the
Yeah,
question.
And
because-
that's the reason why I'm saying it is
Okay.
covered. I'm almost definitely 100% sure that it's on there. But you brought up a good question, and I didn't bring the actual proposal itself, but,
Okay.
you know,
Mr. Chairman.
that's something we added to that, you know.
Chairman, our board member brought up a good question. This gentleman agrees it's a good question, and I'd like to have that answered before we vote on this. So, are you clear on what we're discussing here, Mr. Galvan?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
What's the expiration of the current policy?
we still got a little time on it?
I mean, I can find this out in 5 minutes.
Yes.
I can just,
You
by
have
text
that
message.
available, you can get it,
Press
and
back
then
there,
we can-
hold up there.
Yes, I got your question, I was just letting him finish to get to yours. Do you have,
I just want to know his name.
Donald De Leon, Plymouth Insurance Agent. Yeah, I can just ask real quick.
Mr. Chairman, can we go ahead and temporarily, let's just
Yeah.
take this
Just
out of
skip
order?
this one and go back.
yeah, we can
to
Give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and
yeah, we can
I'll-
move on to the next agenda item.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
we'll come back.
He will help you out.
Shark Tank.
We're gonna postpone and move move on to, item number 12, we'll come back and revisit item number 11. Moving to item number 12, consider and approve the purchase of East Blanco wastewater treatment plant air supply material. Purchasing manager
I mean,
stepped out.
I don't know if Mr. Enrique here.
What?
Basically, we did a rebid, because we only received one bid on this item back in December, and on this one, we received 5 bids. And it's basically to buy material to get those airlift pumps onto our PE blower and operation to help that electric station get to the sewer plant. And,
Pretty standard.
Yeah, and so we recommend approval for Alamo Iron Works for
You
another
got
10,000.
4 bids almost the same.
I just have just a general question. What kind of experience, do we work with Alamo Iron Works often?
Well, I mean, they, I don't know what we bought from in the past. I mean, they're just the fabricator,
We have a good working relationship with them?
And we purchase a lot of material, supplies
Yeah, they've been around.
from,
Okay. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion made by Arwell for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Houston, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ron, all opposed, motion carries, thank you. Yes. 10,000,
119.
You had 4 bids within $2,000. 10,678.37, no wait, 10,118.13.
Moving to item number 13, consider and approve abandonment of easement on 4311 Gulf Boulevard and Esperanza Street, lot 18, block 121 on South Padre Island.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to table this item I think we need to get some more information.
Yes, I have some questions too.
Okay.
Keep going.
I'd like to table it. I'm concerned about the easement going into the neighbor's property. We need to be aware of what's there.
Well, I'm not clear, number one, if you're banning the utility, the 10-foot utility easement and what that does to the neighbors, and number two,
Right.
the sewer line runs diagonal on the side of the lot, is that correct? Is that how
That's correct.
That's right. And then there's
that's
an
only,
easement,
that's only on this one lot only?
there's an easement that comes in the other way against us too.
There's no
I don't know if that
But
looked at.
the other issue is that that's just a hand-drawn approximate for the sewer connection. It's not on the survey. It's not an official location of where that sewer tap is. The district would only have the responsibility at the easement. Whatever crossed the property to the residents would be the landowner's responsibility. But our concern, and my concern is where that sewer tap is. If it's in the easement, we're making use of that easement now. I cannot rely on a red line kind of just jotted in here and a reference made to where a water tap is. I need to know where it is on this survey, and it's been stated here. Sorry?
The water tap is on the front on Golf Boulevard?
It's not on this survey.
No, sir.
Would normally wouldn't be.
No, but they're making the statement that it is, and I need some verification of where it is. And then we've already expressed, several of us expressed concern that this utility services lot 17 behind there. And then I would like to know what other utilities are using this utility easement in the future, or presently. And then, as importantly, please indulge me, gentlemen.
No,
As importantly, I want to know how this utility easement will be of value to the district in the future. It's like a lot of these utility easements on the island, because there's several lots on Gulf Boulevard, and then the other lots behind them are going the different directions. So
Right.
the center utilities behind those other lots runs, kind of in the middle of the block like everything else. But that utility easement coming from the back will not necessarily service anything in the front. That's the reason for this utility easement where it is today. So before we just say, well, we don't need it, I want to really explore what the future needs of the district will be, specifically the way the city has allowed the utility easements to be built up with Mount Everest, to reach an extreme, of trying to get how we're going to take and get to service any of these lines if we give up some of these access easements now.
And we're setting a precedent, Doyle. Once you do it for one person, you
know,
gotta do it for every
And
person.
they can't build on those easements anyway, so, you're opening up a can of
So
worms.
do you
You're
want to leave it
opening
at
up
the
a
table, or
can
you
of
want to make a
worms.
motion tonight?
I just want to follow up with one more thing. The utility easement there runs all the way to Venus Street, if I'm not mistaken.
It
So it
does.
kind of forms a T, and then the rest of it goes down the middle, this way for the lots that go in a different direction. So my concern is really, what's happening to the rest of that easement? If we're going to abandon this section, we might as well get rid of the rest of it too.
Exactly.
So we really need to see, how far it
Did the
extends.
customer make the request on this? The customer made,
Yeah.
the
So I-
landowner made the request?
Yes, Mr. Blasting
Yeah.
made that request, and,
Is that the legal owner? Do you know if that's the legal owner?
yes, that's her well.
It's a street corner,
Yeah,
but I'm
there's
saying
a
Gulf
boundary.
Boulevard, and
So I'd like to, Mr. Chair, I'd like to
Yes.
move the table the item.
There's
Second.
been a motion made to table by, Mr. Alvarez, and second by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
You are, any opposed? None, motion carries, thank you. Moving to item number 14, consider and approve the budget change between Department 3 and Department 1.
Before we jump into the explanation, I have a question. This is making a change to our fiscal year ending in September 30 of last year.
that's correct.
So there's no issue of doing this at this time
No, sir.
in 2018?
No, actually, this should have been done back in September. Normally, what you do at year end is you go in and,
I understand it. So there's no issue. That's all I was asking.
No.
So this is actually clearing up an issue.
Yes.
Thank you. I move to approve.
Motion made by D. Wells for approval.
Second.
Seconded by R. Wells for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 15, consider and approve the budget change to, consider and approve the budget change to adjust revenue accounts to the actual.
Same reason?
Same reason, yes, sir.
Move to
The only
approve.
thing
Second.
The only thing I wanted to, just inform you, and, because this question came up, Mr. Houston brought up this question last time as to why we were short on, when we compared budget to actual. In essence, we weren't short. If you look on the, following page where the revenue and expense are listed, the very bottom, I hadn't really noticed these, but on the very bottom, the last three are transfers from the fund balance from the water STC and transfers from the sewer STC, and then a fund carry forward from unreserved. So that was actually $837,000 that we carried forward to help the budget, the overall budget of $10 million. The actual money that was budgeted was $9,297,000. We collected $9,745,000. So we actually collected $448,000 more than what was budgeted. And the difference of those three items is kind of carries that forward. And it just shows that we didn't collect all the money, but we did.
My motion stands with a thank you.
Motion made by D. Wells with a second by Mr. R. Wells. For all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Revisiting item number 11, we got some questions answered? Yes, sir.
What we're looking at is a total limit on all the buildings of $21 million. So therefore, you're looking at, on each building or plane, you have $1 million. They're gonna give you 20% of that for all debris removal. So let's assume that it's $1 million for that one plane. They're gonna give you $200,000, and you're not out of pocket anything. That's how this insurance works. And you have, like I said, we looked at all the different buildings that you had, and we insured it to the $21,128,000. And that's where it's at. So in order to say once you reach that amount, there is no more insurance? No, that's just per claim. You can have multiple disasters and still have more money to cover.
So I would have to submit a new claim under debris removal for the same occurrence.
Well, it'd be you submit a claim.
Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Move a lot of stuff for $200,000.
Well,
Especially when you're scraping it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we had.
Where you get, you know, in a lot of areas,
$200,000.
If you look at, say, Houston, Austin, they don't have what we have, where it would be the cheap labor and things like that. So, insurance companies can't discriminate, well, what's living in South Texas versus living in Austin.
And I get that part, the cheap labor part. My main concern was if I expend $1 million in demolition costs, I have to do another claim for debris removal of the same event.
Well, yeah, once you make the claim, and you list on there you want the debris removal as well, that'll be part of that claim.
Okay.
I think we're covered.
I move we approve.
Second.
To accept Clements.
Yes.
As the staff's recommendation.
Motion made by Mr. Houston,
Second.
seconded by R. Wells. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you, sir.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Back to...
For clarification, that was awarding to Clements, staff recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving to item 16, consider and approve a change order number 2 with CSA Construction Inc. for Portage wastewater treatment facility modifications.
I'm wondering about this one.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to initiate, but basically, I just put this, on the table for consideration. Basically, it was a negotiated price. Compared to that first estimate, it came down quite a bit. So it's just, presented as this item, and we've all put that valuation that we have, bid from the last CCQ inspection, requesting an increase of $147,296 to get that methane monitoring in place here.
So you want us to do the change order before we approve the monofill, the next agenda item?
Well, we're on item number 16, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, this is the change order. Yeah, this change order isn't associated with odor control. The methane monitoring is required because we're doing installation disposal. One of the permit requirements.
I recall all that.
Yeah.
My question is, agenda item number 16, okay,
17 is unrelated.
17, no, my apologies. So the backup material is the stuff related to the methane monitor system.
Correct.
And excuse me, so you're proposing to do a change order, rather than bid this out, for what reason?
Now's the time to, if the change order is not approved, we'll proceed with going out for bids, and I'd have to dissect the Corolla plans to put a bid package together.
I distinctly remember when we were looking at the budget on this was gonna be around $100,000.
Or
I
less,
remember the
or less.
number, 100 or less.
Well, that was where Corolla was talking to us. That's when they were up there telling us, when we were talking about this.
I got a good
And then we
memory
were
on
talking
some
about
things, and it was gonna be
the
100 or
engineering-
less, they told us.
Rick, that, I'm refreshing my memory too.
Yeah.
So that's when we had that conversation with Corolla standing there at the podium, and he was
And he
trying to
said,
say,
or less.
he was gonna take and give us a deal on engineering it for the money he didn't charge us and something else.
Yeah.
But he was really jacking that up.
Exactly.
So you're saying that that information is in the plans that we have now, that you would have to go through there and pull them out to be able to do the bid spec?
I'd have to.
I'm really having trouble, I'm a simple cowboy at heart. I'm having trouble understanding why it would be so difficult when you have qualified people in that business, you show them the area and what you need, what it, you know, it's just like hiring a vendor to do a job. Why do we have to get so bogged down with engineering out of another set of plans? One, I have a little difficulty. I consider this work to be unrelated to the wastewater contract we have now, and tap it and burden it with a change order on the wastewater plant, because we may need more change order room with that later. And then bear with me, gentlemen, then I have some real problems of paying them $13,000 to oversee somebody else's work in their proposal in here, part of the change order.
Because no one wants to accept the responsibility as part of that problem.
Well, but we have two different...
I'm not sticking up for anyone.
We have two different providers that are gonna provide the
Oh.
equipment, and this other guy was gonna do a little slab work, a little contract work, plus collect $13,000 and sales tax, which I have another issue with.
Well,
From the
sales tax
discus-
is stricken.
They charge us sales tax.
Why was it in there?
This is all support for putting it out for bid, is what I'm doing, which is fine. It's just to let you know, this is the current price if it's presented through a change order, and there's nothing stopping us from going out for bid. It's just, I'm just letting you know that's where we're at.
What is that process like? I mean, what has to happen just to...
I just prepare a set of funding documents, that pull what they've already produced and reference what's applicable on the bid form.
And we go out for those bids?
Yes, I would issue the bids, go through the bidding process, and just take all the applicable parts of our existing, plans and specs that are for that bid.
And out of these two contractors, what part do they play in
Well-
installing or whatever they have to do with those monitors?
Well, there's an instrumentation contractor on this job and an electrical contractor.
And they'll
So
still
we're
honor
both
him?
to the prime. And so you can see the primes markup in the detail.
Right.
And like water plant 2, for example, we did that in 7 contracts. And the reason why we did multiple construction contracts was to get that, I was basically the general contractor at water plant 2. So basically, I mean, we can go through that effort, it's just gonna take time,
I'm up for taking time.
Me
Yeah.
too, man.
Well, my question, thank you, but my question is, Mr. Ortiz, is how does this put us in...
We're in TCEQ violation currently.
We're in TCQ violation currently, so
I mean, I just basically...
Do we need to spend something that we don't need to spend to hurry up to satisfy them, or are we all right in time frame?
We're all right in our time frame.
If they know you're working on it, they'll work with
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the schedule that I gave them. The strike-throughs is how I modified it based on Carlos' response to give me the...
Then we can take and, if we decide to go ahead and bid it out, we have a little backup, we have a lot of backup on what to go with, and it gives you a clear path of how to bid it out now.
Yeah, I have an ability to put this out for bid. I'll just have to pull,
So-
you know, pieces together to do it.
Who, I guess, do you think you get some qualified, some good bidders on it?
Yeah. I mean, we have a local electrical contractor. We don't need a contractor from Fresno that can do it, you know? Like, so if there's...
Thank you.
My recommendation would be tabling it,
Or just taking action.
Deny it.
Yeah.
no action.
No action.
No action taken on 16. Let's move on to item number 17. Consider and approve to Portland, Oregon for Water Environment Federation Odors and Air Pollutants Conference to be held at March 25th through March 28th, 2018.
Oh, this is just up for, basically, I know odor control is an item that came up a lot in public meetings. And so this is their annual conference on the wastewater side. It just specializes in odor and air pollutants. So it's just putting it out there if any board members would be interested in attending or...
I like the idea of doing this. If I'm correct, I already signed up for the proceedings for that conference. But I think it's very critical that we send the
Without
right people
attending.
there.
Just the...
Not attending, I'm just gonna get the documents from it. But I think it's very important that we do send the people that are actually out in the field doing this work. I think that's critical, I really do. That would be my recommendation, that we do something like that, because I do believe that we need to start educating ourselves about these things and stay on top of it. This is something that I know I'm gonna be pushing that. I know I get a lot of pushback from it in the community. So it's very important to everybody, and if we show that we're actively pursuing, you know, educating our staff to do these things and be on top of the latest that's happening with that, I think it's doing the district a good favor. I really do.
I support that.
Do you have 3 others?
Yeah, I recommended myself and 3 operators sit in, if that's okay. Yeah.
From the wastewater side, the main problems that we have.
I support that. I support the initiative. I support the involvement. I support the staff to attend as needed. I really commend Mr. Avalos for getting the backup information and following up. I'd like to see if any of this is going to be online. A lot of time it's video.
I'm not sure about that, only because these are paying.
I'll find that out later myself.
But you can sign up. Anybody can sign up, I believe, for.
Looking at the conference registration fees, the full conference is $890 for a member.
So I think it's $680, $690 or something like that.
$690.
Pre-registration.
Yeah.
By $223. Yeah, we're good there, so we can get it for $690 plus, you know, travel and expenses.
I'd like to see our operations manager go there also.
Agreed.
I think that would be good. But I don't know if he wants to.
Totally agree with that.
I don't know if he wants to.
All they going out on the Greyhound.
That's the only reason we brought it up to the board.
It's on there for board. The board has to approve it for us.
And then,
to expense.
So, do we need to approve each
We have to approve
individual,
the-
or just,
Just approve the conference to go general.
So
Yeah.
moved.
We can let Carlos and our operations manager decide or figure out who's gonna go to this.
let Carlos handle it?
Okay.
And we're recommending that the operations manager also go.
Okay.
I made a
I'll go with
motion.
the board if we need a board advisor, I'll go.
I think you should.
There you go.
I made the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Houston.
Second.
Second by Mr. Avalos. All those in favor?
Just before we leave that agenda item, I'd like the press to make note of the fact that we are taking an active role in odor control for the community.
And pollution control.
Quite an expense, even though we didn't get a bond to take care of it, we're committed to take care of it.
In the Portland, which
You
is
can quote
extremely
me, on-
green
you may
city.
quote me on that.
Portland's one of the greenest of them all.
Right, well, yeah, I don't know if well, I have a presenter that could be on the agenda that's actually very involved with developing this conference that he might be attending on January 24th. I have to have just to present.
AWBD?
Mike Perkins,
Okay,
Perkins.
okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I know
Yeah.
him.
Okay.
I know him.
Yeah, so he'll be presenting on the 24th.
Okay. Moving to item number 18, consider and review expenditures for December 2017. So I'm gonna have a chance to review all the expenditures. Any questions in particular? Otherwise,
Page 2, last item. Dog and heavy machinery at the seat cushion for the backhoe. Is that a recover or a complete seat? Page 2,
What? Target, heavy equipment?
backhoe cushion, seat,
Just the seat, the cushion for the seat?
just a cushion.
Yes, sir.
You're killing me.
Going up.
You're killing me.
Is it leather?
$434. Killing me. My request there is that, I won't dispute this, I won't contest this now, but, I would really like to take it to one of the local upholstery people and, for $99.99, we can get a good seat. Unless any of your staff are having to sit on a bare seat because it flew away, okay? Page 3, a lot of warehouse material to Ferguson Enterprise. My question is, who bought that? Page 3, middle of the page, Ferguson Enterprise. 4 items for warehouse material, $7,780 and change.
Yes, 7 purchases is throughout the month. They purchased like possibly the personal pipes, type of deal, and then the second.
Who's they?
The warehousemen and the distribution parts and probably collection. That's what they purchased mostly.
Are those, I got a question, are those, like you named right now, are those departments listed on these expenditures through these codes?
Normally, they're bought for inventory,
Okay.
and they keep a certain amount, and as they start going down, they fill it back up.
fittings, couplings, brass.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
But it doesn't, I guess
So
what my
running
question is,
account?
does the expenditure go back to a particular department? Do we have that coded in there somehow?
Not until it's used. Whenever
Okay.
it's used, depends which.
So all these purchases are basically inventory, not necessarily emergency expenditures or, yeah, okay.
I'm going to make a general comment related to a lot of these expenditures where I wrote in here who bought them. My recall is that the reason that we agreed to make a position for a purchasing agent was for that purchasing agent to do these purchases and to really find the best value available. When restocking the warehouse,
Yeah.
not just going out to vendors or whatever. I'm looking to kind of move away from where we were without any, I'm not being critical, but moving away from anybody just going out and ordering. We need to run this through purchasing. And
maybe-
purchasing needs to be involved with this to find the best source for a seat for the backhoe.
1-inch pipe or couplings or whatever. When we restock it, Shopping Alamo, Ferguson.
Yes,
Irons, Works,
Restock.
And maybe, maybe my thought is it doesn't necessarily have to be on every single item, but maybe set a threshold, maybe say $500 or whatever that number is.
I don't agree with that. I think
Well, I'm just saying-
everything needs to go through there. If they need something, they go through purchasing.
If time allows, yes. And if it's not non-emergency,
I'm not talking
yeah, that's.
I'm not talking about a water line break at Saturday night.
Standard restocking stuff
Yeah.
should be shopped pricing.
Yeah.
Should be shopped by pricing.
Yeah.
Like on this particular purchases here, there's like 5 vendors that we go to.
Mhm.
As is that, this one was the lowest, I guess, cost on all 4 items. It looks like they were, it has 12/01, one date, but they were purchased throughout the month.
Right, right.
Not one purchase.
Well, that's a check date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The check date, the check, when the check was written, so,
I guess the point is that we need our purchasing agent more involved in purchasing. And instead of everybody just going out or whoever does the purchasing for a particular department, going out and buying what they need, they have to submit something to the purchasing agent saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna need this next week. I need this for inventory. Get me the best price you can.
For the first 2 Ferguson, purchases, we have 3 quotes at least.
everything,
In other words,
everything.
out of one of the 26 pages here, just try to get involved with as much as you can of these purchases. So we know that we are saving a little money, we are trying to get the best deal. And I understand that
I refer to it
we're,
in my own business called grid buying, which means when I need a certain item, I can go through a number of vendors across, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I do by major purchases, and grid buy and shop by what type of, whether it be.
And I'll add one thing to that. I see a lot of auto parts, and a lot of these auto parts aren't necessarily something that needs to be bought.
A lot of it can be bought online.
That's my point. A lot of this can be bought online. I just had some front wheel bearing hub assemblies.
Tires.
O'Reilly, who's cheaper than the dealer, had them at $170, $180 a piece. I bought them a front pair for $140. And that was with free shipping, 2-day shipping. And so, a lot of this stuff can be done online.
It's the way of the world.
Yeah,
New world.
yeah.
One thing for sure that, he is involved in the purchases, because he's the first one that calls us, like, okay, everything's set up, so we.
And he needs to be involved, because I'm looking for the savings to justify his position. And that's what we hired him based. Remember us having a conversation. A good purchasing agent will save his salary and more for the district.
We want to be able to do the same for less money, not do less for less money.
That was in your prayer.
I remember that. And I want to be able to do the same with less money.
That's what the purpose was.
Or better.
So,
I move to approve.
he does,
Motion
We
made
don't
by
need to
Dewey.
approve it, we
No,
just acknowledge, right?
yeah.
No, you just approve the bill.
Thank
It's
you.
a review the expenses.
Sorry, I rambled on too long.
It's supposed to be an approval.
Is it?
It's supposed to.
Well, we went through that before. Herb said, how can we prove something that's already spent?
We just acknowledge.
Acknowledge.
Yes. Moving to number 19, executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, at sequence under Section 551071, consultation with attorney. We do not have the presence of the attorney here tonight. We are going to proceed on with discussion on legal matters with counsel concerning 6900 Puttery Boulevard through 7200 Puttery Boulevard. Motion go into executive session with a 5-minute recess at 6:54 p.m., please. We'll be back at 7 p.m. Motion made by D. Wells.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ravalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
For executive session, we'll resume at 7 p.m. Thank you. Need a motion to come
would
out
like
of
to.
executive session
Wrap up.
at 7:07 p.m.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Houston. There was a second by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
We're out of executive session. Discussion on legal matters with counsel concerning 6900 Boulevard to 7200 Pottery Boulevard. No action at this time. We're out of executive session, and meeting is dismissed at 7:09 p.m.